Big Play Cleveland show. I'm Gabriella Cruz alongside Chris McNeil, Nick Padone. Let's just be honest. It's a little tough coming off this weekend in Cleveland. Another devastating Browns loss. And then, honestly, it was a real big bummer to not see Jose go 40-40, be the first guy in franchise history, 7th in Major League Baseball. And to be honest, he had a chance to go 40-40. 41, triple across the board there. How are you guys feeling? And there's a lot to get into, especially about the Browns. I don't think we saw this coming.
Well, I was going to say, with Jose, the only thing that could stop him from getting those kind of numbers was the weather, unfortunately. He didn't get that extra game. Going back to an earlier season, or an earlier game in the season I saw where he was robbed of a home run, and you think something that early in the season prevented him from hitting his numbers now, and that's too bad. But I expect him to show up for these playoffs. It's nice for the Guardians to be on a bye. I kind of wish the Browns were on a bye right now, Nick. Really ugly against the Raiders. A lot of mistakes once again. And once again, we've got a game, Nick, where we start off well. You're feeling good right after the get. And then all of a sudden, it all falls down once we go up 10-0.
Why is that, you guys? Why is that? Why are we so hot out of the gates, and what the heck happens?
A lot of skeptics. Yeah, the Stefanski script. I mean, the opening script is always set. You know, the first 10 to 15 plays, and they look so good. They're on script. They're on schedule. The quarterback was on time throughout those first 15 plays of the game, but then Vegas goes back, and they, kind of combat that, and then it's just 10 points unanswered, and at that point, you're gridlocked there at 10, and then the bottom of the bag falls out and everything crumbles. So the Browns haven't been able to adjust throughout 4 weeks of the season, and that's a big reason why they are what their record is, and that's 1-3.
And this was a failure on all three facets of the game, right? Special teams were missing extra points. How debilitating was that after we get the big touchdown, and then you've got the miss right after it? Everybody is Browns fans. You sit back and you go, I know what's coming next there. The defense didn't look like the defense that we had last year from Jim Schwartz and co. And then, of course, the offense. Absent that first drive, they just were not able to do anything consistently throughout the afternoon. Made for an ugly, ugly afternoon there in Las Vegas. And we had so many fans out there. And that's the thing with this team. The fan support has been just phenomenal, both at home, on the road. That everybody was talking about how many fans were there in Las Vegas, partying it up, excited about this team, excited about what could be with the Cleveland Browns against an opponent that was an inferior opponent, missing their top two weapons, their top on offense, top two on defense, and we still couldn't get it done. And that is really a disappointment for all the fans that poured so much into this team. So much passion is behind the Cleveland Browns, and they continue to deliver duds like this.
Chris, no Devontae Adams, no Max Crosby, no win for the Cleveland Browns. And they say in the NFL, you are what your record says you are. The Browns are 1-3. The Browns have the worst offense, 32 overall, in the National Football League.
That's not what we paid for.
That's not what we paid for. And I know there will be a lot of people, and rightfully so. Deshaun did look better in that game. Low bar. Very low bar. But
still
he
didn't get to 200 yards passing, right?
He cleared it. The fact of the matter is, you are the franchise quarterback that is being compensated $230 million guaranteed on the worst ranked offense in the National Football League. This is Deshaun Watson's reality. This is the world that he has to live in, and he has to take accountability for the offense just not being that good. And they have some demons, Chris. I don't know what's going on with Amari Cooper. I don't know what's going on with that offensive line. They've regressed big time. They have to figure this out.
Jones, man. What is he looking at? Just letting the defenders come right after his quarterback, just leaving him out there to dry.
Yeah. It's bad right now. It's bad right now. And I don't know Bill Callahan would have magically fixed this. I don't know if Alex Van Pelt is the missing key. Right now it looks like to me a collective effort, guys. I think and I said this when they lost that game against the Giants. I'll continue to say it. When you lose games in the National Football League that you're supposed to win, everything comes under a microscope. Look at what we've done already. Looking at Andrew Berry's prior draft selections. Not looking great, especially not on the offensive side of the ball. Where was Cedric Tillman? Yeah, laser eyes are retired.
Gone. That's right. No laser eyes for Andrew Berry. You look at him, you look at ownership. I mean, obviously they were all over this Deshaun Watson trade. I mean, this was their baby. And that's looking really bad right now, has looked bad for a while. This team is in disarray. It starts at the top, and it is just frustrating as heck as a fan right now.
Yeah, the team being in disarray, I was seeing a lot on X, and we've even alluded to it on our show, just the lack of identity with this team, just kind of being in, just scattered about, And I even thought that Jameis Winston, some of this, you watch from afar and you're like, we're in Vegas, baby. These fans traveled. You heard Jameis Winston's hype up. This is the time that we could get right back on track right now. But why is it that it almost seems like this chemistry after 4 games is still not gelling? Is it
that loss, guys, to Gab's point, felt same old Browns? It felt like that culture that Jarvis Landry created when the Hard Knocks speech, and it's contagious, and everything that we've fallen in love with over the last couple of years kind of feels gone, doesn't it? Because you have a quarterback in Deshaun Watson that has struggled, and it's been well documented on this show and others. Deshaun Watson struggled, but he made some throws throughout that game to give the Browns an opportunity to win, and the team failed him. And then at the end, when he finally had an opportunity to throw the football on 4th down and win the game, be the franchise quarterback, be the guy with the bravado, He stood there and he took the sack. It felt same old Browns, from the penalties to the missed extra points, failures on offense, defense, and special teams. You get out-coached again by Antonio Pierce, Gardner Minshew, and the Raiders. It has a same old Browns stench to it. And I think that's a big reason, Gab, why a lot of people are so upset and feel like there's no identity, because it reminds us of those teams of
the
2013, 2014, where you don't know what the identity is.
Yeah, just being kind of littered about. I don't know, guys. Do you think that if we found our identity tomorrow, I'm just not even going to ask. I don't know. I think we all know the answer to
Well,
this.
one of the things that may help eventually, we did get a little bit of good news with Nick Chubb. Yes. He's going to be coming to practice. That doesn't mean he's going to be playing. He's not going to be playing Sunday. It's going to be a little ways. But it's nice to have his presence back there in the locker room, back there on the practice field. At least you get some good juju going, right? Yeah. You get some good momentum for the team. You just came off a debilitating loss. You're going to be on the road until the end of October. At least you have a little bit of good news here with Nick Chubb. Maybe that starts to rally the team. I don't know. The team certainly needs a spark right now of some sort.
It's a good point. He could bring those good juju. Everything associated with Browns and Nick Chubb is very positive.
For sure. And it'll take some time. You could definitely say you want to see growth out of the offensive line before Nick Chubb returns, because right now, I don't know who's blocking for Nick Chubb.
I wouldn't want to come back if I'm Nick Chubb right now, looking at that offensive line like, no, it's going to take a few more weeks.
Back to the identity thing, and I'll leave you guys with this, because we're going to talk some Guardians baseball. We're going to have some fun on the show today. It's not all doom and gloom, but think to yourself, and I want the audience as well, what do the Browns do well currently? I don't know. It used to be they ran the football well. It used to be they dink and dunk, ran the football, and capitalized on good kicking, good special teams, and smart coaching. Right now, I couldn't tell you a single thing that they do well.
Alternate unis?
Defense or special teams. Myles Garrett. They do Myles Garrett well.
He comes in, gets 2 sacks yesterday, didn't play all day.
He
wasn't consistently in there and still was able to muster 2 sacks. He still makes his presence felt, even if he's not in there on every play.
That's about it.
Yeah.
So we're going to step aside. We've got a fun interview for you guys. We're talking Guardians playoffs. Don't go anywhere. More of the Big Play Cleveland show right after this.
Welcome back to the Big Play Cleveland show. We are now ready for our Garage Beer featured interview. It's beer-flavored beer, Garage Beer. Rajai Davis, a blast from the past, former Cleveland Indians baseball player. I know we're still getting used to this lingo, Raj. I bet it's weird for you too, but World Series hero, 2-run bomb, bottom of the 8th, Game 7, 2016. It's so good to have you back. You're a face we'll always be excited to see here in Cleveland. How you doing?
I am doing well. I'm looking forward to these playoffs. This is probably one of the most interesting regular seasons that I've seen. I don't think I've seen one. It's been a long time since I've seen not one team kind of just run away with it and win 100 games. And so this is going to be an interesting playoffs. It's kind of fun to be on this side, to be able to watch it as a fan.
And you're still in baseball, right? For people who don't know, we cross paths here and there, baseball operations.
We sure do. We sure do. And I'm still in baseball. I'm working with the commissioner's office with Major League Baseball, trying to help make this game a better game, the best game that we can possibly make it. And that's what we're doing now.
That's awesome. Rajai, what's that experience been like for you? Because obviously baseball has had some changes, the last couple of years to bring in younger fans, make the game more exciting for fans, but also still keeping that same history, keeping the players involved. What's that new venture been like for you?
Well, I tell you what, the reward when, from a players perspective, when you're getting feedback from the players and the coaches in the clubhouses, and you're able to see a change, like a visible change. So, in for every clubhouse that you go into now, the batting cages are all standard when they go on the road. So they all have a Valley Shield. They all have, the hack attack, 2 hack attacks, 1 junior, one senior hack attack, right? So that's a standard that they have. And when you see that, it's really nice for where we've grown. And not only that, Major League Baseball has taken in the consideration of the fans and what they want to see. They want to see more action, and then they want to see a shorter game, which both have happened.
Yeah.
There's more action in less time. I think before, when we started, it was like at 4 minutes. I think now is at like around 3 minutes of time between balls in play. And, I think that our game's time average is like at 2 hours and like 36, 37 minutes or somewhere right around there. So it's really rewarding to see that what is going on is actually happening and producing, what we would like to see on the field.
So Rajai, take us back to 2016. Take us back to that World Series game. You hit the huge iconic home run off of Aroldis Chapman. Tell us about the story. What happened there? What were you thinking going up to the plate? And then after that ball cleared the wall?
It's funny when I think about Chapman. I just saw him in the clubhouse not too long ago. He's almost 8 or 9 years older, and yet I saw him still throw 102 miles an hour, which in itself is a remarkable, to his credit.
Yeah.
The work that he puts in, the work that he has been able to maintain what he's doing and his velocity and everything. But when we go back to that moment, knowing that, he's got a dynamic fastball. And when I say dynamic, I had not seen anybody throw like him in that whole year, that whole season. Nobody threw the ball like he threw it. And he was coming from the left side, which makes it that much more difficult, because how often do you see a left-hander throwing that hard, right, from the left side? And that's one thing, right? So that's one thing that was against me. And then when you don't get to face it as often, to get the timing, to get the release point, to see exactly where that ball is coming from, it makes it that's what makes, I think, relievers so difficult to hit, because you don't get to see them as much. That's why they talk about, when you get to the third time around that game for that pitcher, because the hitter has adjusted his eyes to that point where the pitcher is releasing, and he has a better understanding of what the pitcher is trying to do to get him out. But we all knew, they all knew how they were going to try to get me out. Everybody knows that Aroldis was throwing fastballs and he was throwing the flame balls. And he was very successful at doing that. And so when we take it back, we got to take you back to the first time I faced that series. Okay. it was 101, 102, 102. It was three pitches. It was fouled off straight back, fouled off straight back. Go a little higher, strike three. Right. I'm going back to the bench. Now I got a gauge though. I got a gauge. I got an idea of where and how hard he's actually throwing and what I need to be ready for. Because it's November. Now, mind you, I've been playing since February. Let's not forget spring training, okay? 6 weeks in spring training, swinging every day, right? Not taking many days off. So, by the time November 2nd hit, because that's when it was, November 2nd hit, my arms is feeling a little bit more tired, a little bit more weak, right? It's hard to keep that strength, that mental strength at that time. So these are all the things, all the battles I'm facing going up in this moment. But in my mind, I'm like, man, this is a moment of moments. This is the moment that every little leaguer, every little young athlete, every baseball player, they dream about being in the situation, coming up and being able to just getting this situation, to be able to get to the World Series. That was my first World Series and only time being able to get into that World Series and to be able to come through. So leading up to this moment, it's something that I've been constantly thinking about since game one. Game one, I'm like, man, I'm expecting to do something big. I'm expecting to do something great. I want to do something that's going to help us team win, but I want it to be where everybody's watching and it's a pressure situation. It's clutch time, and I had waited. I would say patiently until the bottom of the eighth, 2 outs, down 2. With my boy on the mound throwing 101, 102 miles an hour, and in that case, in my mind, I'm really believing in the God that created me, that He's going to give me the strength, the ability to be able to hit that ball.
You were
Yes, go ahead.
No, you go. I've heard this. We sat down in 2017. I want you to say all that you have to say.
Okay. Yeah, no. So I was in a space where I was super confident. I was so confident in the fact of what I was supposed to do. My dad at the time was traveling with us all year. And he was telling me all year, I'm praying for you, son. I'm praying for you that this will be the best year that you ever had. That this will be your year. And so that was a seed that was planted early in the year. And he traveled with us everywhere we went. He was there. He'd go on the road with us. He was at home with us. He lived with us. He was helping to take care of our kids, because my son was only, he was November 2nd, he was 14 months old. So, you can only imagine what he was. And that's when he actually, he first started like walking during this time frame, from his birthday, June 1st to, November, so it's a lot going on in my life, and it's a lot going on with my wife. She's got the 2 little ones, Jordan, who's barely walking. My daughter was about 20 months older than him, so about 3 at the time. So she's in there. She's into a lot of things, and doing her thing, and just all those toddler years. And mom's got to deal with that though, right? Because
for sure,
I'm at the field. I got to bring home some bacon, so I want to make sure I bring home the bacon.
Well, you brought it home in a big way,
and I'm really impressed in how they came to the decision to pick up Stephen Vogt, and how that process went. I'm really intrigued to hear that. I mean, but that's when you allow the manager to manage the game, to manage the players, it gives him the authority to develop friendships and relationships that are meaningful, that make a difference for a player. Because if the manager doesn't have the power, or at least is perceived that he doesn't have the power with players to, put this guy in or put that guy in and make decisions, that somebody's always a puppet, he's just doing what they ask him to do. It's harder for the manager to get the best player that he could possibly get. Because you lose confidence, you lose trust in that manager. And that's hard to gain, right? It takes a long time to build up to, but you can lose it very quickly. And so I watched how Tito built trust in players all throughout the year, and especially when players struggled. That's when he showed up. Like, a lot of managers I've seen over the years, and sometimes it's not their decision, and sometimes it's just what it is. Guys would struggle for a little bit, and they coming out of the game. They're coming out.
Yeah, quick hooks.
Yeah, quick hook. And so I watched Tito keep guys in. Like they didn't get a couple of hits, and it's like he gave them a chance to actually pick themselves up. And once they picked themselves up, they felt confident. Boom! Now he would, I would watch him be able to, take guys in and out. And so I could see that even because you just never know who's going to be that guy at the end of the year, who's going to be the player that you need the most. So in when you think about like Merritt pitching and starting a game in Toronto, right?
People forget about that,
right? But here's the message that Tito gave in the very beginning, in the first day of spring training when we're meeting. He says, "Guess what, guys? I'm going to need all of you, all 40 or 50. I'm going to need you all, right?" So that right there let us know that, guess what? At some point, somebody's going to have to step up, and you're going to have an opportunity, right? And if you show and you prove that, guess what? You're worthy of that opportunity, you get more. And I think that's what Merritt showed, and that's what Tito saw in me. Because I didn't start Game 6, I did start Game 7.
We could really have a whole documentary about this, and Cleveland fans would eat it up. I do remember sitting down with you in 2017, a year after, maybe it was 2 years after, and hearing all of this. Such a great guest, Raj. Thanks for your time, especially as we look ahead for the postseason here. You are the epitome of confidence, meeting preparation, meeting a lifetime of passion for baseball and envisioning your moment. And we're so happy that we got to see it here in Cleveland on the biggest stage in the most clutch way possible. Thanks for all that you gave this city, and we look to have you back when we can.
Oh, absolutely. And thank you. This has been awesome. It's always great to be able to share this moment, and never let it die. It's always good.
Never want to let it
We'll
die.
relive it forever, Rajai. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Raj. We're going to take a quick break here on Big Play Cleveland. We'll be back with more right after this.
Welcome on back into the Big Play Cleveland show. So much fun having Rajai Davis join us. Obviously, just a wealth of knowledge around baseball, but that moment and what it means to him, it couldn't have happened to a better individual also to live out that massive moment in Cleveland sports history. Still so humble to hop on the show and share it with us as the Guardians get ready to go into the playoffs. We're bringing the heat, as always, as we do every week with Jensen Lewis. It's all brought to you guys by our friends at Northeast Factory Direct. They have the best, unbelievable quality products at an unbelievably low price. And they have the whole house covered: kitchen cabinets, bedroom sets, dining room tables, hot tubs, sofas, so much more. I was telling you guys, I've got my furniture delivered from Northeast Factory Direct.
Looking good?
The outside. We did the outside first, unorthodox, but we got a nice new patio set. We're able to enjoy the fall. I'm loving it. Go hit up Northeast Factory Direct online, northeastfactorydirect.com. But you guys got to stop in store. Go see Alex at any of their locations in Euclid, Cantlin, Cleveland, Macedonia. Go check them out. Make sure to ask for that big play bonus. They'll hook you up. They'll take care of you. It's time to bring in Jensen Lewis. Jensen, in the long run, people want to know, is it a good thing that game got canceled? But a lot of people wanted to see that Jose Ramirez 40-40. I wanted to see it. I'm bummed that it didn't happen. We were robbed. If it was,
I wanted to see the 40-40-41.
Yeah,
if it was, could pull off both of them.
If it was LA, man, they would have played that game for Shohei for sure. I wanted to see it happen.
I would have rather watched him do that than the Browns game.
You had to bring it up, Jensen.
Come on, Jensen. We're trying to avoid it.
I'm sorry, but all right. So I think, yeah, we're all selfish in that regard, right? That you wanted to give him at least 3 more at bats, if not more, to try and be able to get what would have been the first ever 40-40-40 season in Cleveland franchise history. But it doesn't take away from what a remarkable individual campaign that he had, and now leading into October, the momentum that guy's in his last 7 to 10 days. I mean, he's been scorching hot. And so that's a great omen. Now you couple that with the time off here, and those guys will stay sharp with some inter squads and some sim games throughout the week. But yeah, I think once the dust settles and however long this team goes this year, when you go and look back at the individual effort from Jose Ramirez, it will be one of the best single seasons, not only offensively, but defensively in Cleveland franchise history.
So when you look at the 2 teams that we may be playing after the bye, either the Tigers or the Astros, what do you think? Which team did the Guardians match up better against, Jensen?
Yeah, Chris, there's 2 ways to look at it. And the first one is the easy one on familiarity, because we obviously just saw Houston, albeit an abbreviated couple of games there. And I think that bodes well for Cleveland in the sense that those Astro hitters, and not even all of them, because Jordan Alvarez did not play in that series, only got really 1 look at the back end of the bullpen and the guys that you're going to see likely in a heavy amount, at least in game 1 and game 2. I think with Detroit, and it's very similar, as you guys remember, in 2013, when it was then the Cleveland Indians winning 10 straight to get into the postseason. I mean, they were just riding the highs. They had great momentum. And I think Detroit can present some lineup problems for Houston in the regard that their pitching staff can limit a good offense. That being said, guys, the Astros are a completely different animal in October. Thing to keep in mind, though, this is the first time in 8 years that Houston will have to play in that first round of the postseason. And we've routinely seen them getting the bye, and that in themselves has allowed the flexibility and the advantage, more importantly, to have those starting pitching resources ready to go. They could throw their number 1 and number 2 with home field advantage. That's why I've told you guys for weeks, the American League, whoever got the top 2 seeds was going to have a pretty sizable leg up on the rest of the field. I think that bodes well for Cleveland, regardless if they play Houston or Detroit.
Yeah. How do you think our pitching plan of attack changes or gets altered depending on who we're playing? I saw that we had Alex Cobb in the simulation game. We just saw that awesome bullpen game over the Reds. Like, how do you think our sneaky plan of attack might change itself depending on who we're playing?
Yeah, Gab, it's a great question, and I wanted to double check on how the games were scheduled. This is a little bit of a wrinkle, and I'm not sure if people realize it until they get their eyes on it. So game 1 for the division series is Saturday. Then you have an off day on Sunday. Then you'll play game 2 Monday, another off day on Tuesday, and then game 3, and if necessary, game 4 back-to-back Wednesday and Thursday. What an incredible advantage for Cleveland to know that you can effectively run out your big 4 in Clase, Gaddis, and Smith, and Timmy Herron there, and feel like, okay, we can just do these guys in game 1 and game 2 however we want, because we'll have those off days for them to rest. So I think it's a huge advantage. You're not asking Tanner Bybee, who we expect to go in game 1, regardless if they go Matthew Boyd or Alex Cobb in game 2 and game 3. I would anticipate that's kind of where they want to go and matchup dependent too. So subject to change on that. But I think you go with your strengths and know that if it's just 2 times around the order for Boyd or Cobb, or if they try and piggyback it maybe with a Lively and a Cantillo or a Gavin Williams, a lot of flexibility for Stephen Vogt here in this division series with the off days in between game 1 and game 2.
For sure. Jensen, when you look at this ALDS, regardless of who they're playing, in your estimation, what do the Guardians need to do to win this first series and advance?
Pretty simple, Nick. Have the lead after 6 innings.
Yeah.
You do that, and their record has been impeccable. I think, again, the stat this year, when they've led after 6 innings, they have lost only 2 games. And again, when you have the best bullpen in baseball and the ability to really shorten the game, essentially they could shorten the game to 5 innings with the assets that they have there and how deep they run. I'm more intrigued about the roster decisions for the final spots, both in the back end of the bullpen and also on the bench. Where do they want to go? And I think that's probably more predicated on, are you going to face a Detroit team that is pretty sound pitching wise, but you might be able to take advantage of them on the base paths. I think the same can be looked at with Houston. Their ability to generate swing and miss is very solid. So you may look for more of a bat to ball guy, a contact oriented guy, as far as the Astro matchup is concerned. But yeah, I think those are really the only other decisions that we may focus on here once we find out who that opponent is.
Real quick, Jensen, for the people, maybe, do you have any options personally that you would like to see with these bubble guys when we talk about Schneemann, Martinez, John Kenzie, Noel, Miles Straw, Tyler Freeman?
Big
Give
Christmas,
it,
big
Yeah.
Christmas, big playoffs, big Christmas. Let's go.
I would have to believe that John Kenzie gets the nod for one of those spots just because of the ability to change the game. Will Brennan, guys, last week has been awesome, and being able to go and really get hot at the right time. He makes sense. Yeah, I think the decision between Angel Martinez, Daniel Schneemann, what versatility does Stephen Vogt want off the bat, not only defensively but also in that pinch running scenario, and then back into the bullpen. Gosh, guys, what Andrew Walters has done, still hasn't given up a run to start his career in 9+ appearances. Eric Sabrowski, holy crap, none of us expected this. So some difficult but good decisions that they'll have to make for these final ALDS roster spots.
For sure. We got to snag a quick break. Stay right with us. When we return, we're asking Jensen the direct question of the week presented by Northeast Factory Direct. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back to the Big Play Cleveland show. We're bringing the heat with Jensen Lewis. As always, before we get you out of here, Jensen, we've got to ask our Northeast Factory direct question of the week. We want to know, who's your pick to make it out of the NL this postseason?
So I think you could have possibly a repeat of last year where Arizona was the last team in and got hot at the right time and ran to the World Series. If somehow Atlanta gets in, and I think they could be one. I'll put it this way.
Yeah.
If Atlanta gets in and they face the Padres, which I think would be the matchup, I think the winner of Padres-Braves ends up going to the World Series for the National League. And that's all due respect to the Dodgers and the Phillies. But I think those two teams give the most problems to LA the way they're currently constructed. And I think those two teams have what it takes to get to the Fall Classic.
All right, one more question. Where do you come out on a bunt to break up a perfect game? We saw it last week. We've been talking about the bullpen. The bullpen was putting together a perfect game against the Reds. Battle of Ohio. They lay down a bunt. What were your thoughts on that, Jensen?
I texted Chris Jimenez immediately because I think we had that happen to us either in the minor leagues or in the big leagues. And I know I would have been furious. And I understand the thought process. Hey, it's still a game. You're only down 2. You're bringing the tying run to the plate. I'm probably more in the old school unwritten rules in that aspect. So I understand both sides. But I texted him right away. I'm like, dude, I know how I feel. How would you feel? And we were like, yeah, we'd both have been furious, but understand exactly what TJ Frieda was trying to do there.
That scenario is that whole scenario is kind of an illustration to me of how I know Jose's going to bounce back stronger than ever after coming just 1 home run short of the 40-40, because right after they broke that up, or shortly after, he hits that 3-run blast and just gets the place right. You know, he had that chip, and he was just like, you know, I feel like he's a guy.
Chip on his shoulder guy.
Once he gets a little pissed or a little bit hot, you know, he just brings it. He just channels it. So I'm thinking like that. I don't know. It was an illustration for me of I think this guy's gonna bring it.
Fire inside. That's right. The dog in Jose.
The dog in Jose.
Yeah.
I love it. Hey Jensen, ALDS. We've got some big some big plans for the fans out there.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to jumping on with you guys, and we'll see you in Lakewood for the Big Play Cleveland show, the Reflog show, pregame on site there. Can't wait to be with you guys through this postseason run. I hope we're going all the way through the end of October and November. I hope we get to do a Big Play parade show. That would be fantastic all the way around. So excited. It's been a treat to be with you guys all year. Hopefully the first of many champagne baths. Hey, if they can do it there, we might as well celebrate too for each round that they go further.
For sure. Coming out every game of the ALDS will be live from the Lakewood Truck Park, bringing the heat with Jensen Lewis. It's going to be a lot of fun. We want to see the fans pack that place. We want to do photos. We're going to give stuff away. It's going to be a lot of fun coming out Lakewood Truck Park. Home games, we'll be there. Away game, we'll be there. Come on out to Lakewood, watch the Gardos with us. Jensen, so much for popping on, and I'll see you at the Lakewood Truck Park for game 1.
Thanks, Jensen.
You got it. Thanks.
Later. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to the Big Play Cleveland show. We'll be back with more right after this.
Welcome back to the Big Play Cleveland show. It is time for a little bit of fill in the blank brought to you by Affinity Whole Health. And actually, Chris, you got to update us on your whole journey with them as we do every week.
Yeah, once again, a great weekend, even though the Browns disappointed us once again. But Affinity Whole Health has helped me. They've given me a personalized packet with personalized medications that I can use to make me feel better, be better. So even after a Browns game, as disappointing as that one was this weekend, I was still up, still energized. I still went out to dinner after that and had a full evening, and I'm looking forward to a full week of work before they disappoint me again. Thanks to Affinity Whole Health with locations down in Columbus and up here in Cleveland. Check them out, affinityWholeHealth.com.
You need them to balance out. You know, you get
That's right.
down and then Affinity brings you up.
For sure.
And are we going to take a quick break?
No, we can keep going.
Let's go straight into it. On that downer note, no, I'm just kidding. The Browns' identity this season, we alluded to this, but the Browns' identity this season is?
Filler until we get to Cavs season right now, or filler for when the Guardians aren't playing in the playoffs. I tell you what, I was very disappointed by what we saw out of the Browns right now, Nick. I'm, of course, going to watch every game, but I just hate to see the lack of energy. We talked about Affinity Whole Health with the energy. That was the exact opposite what we saw on the field on Sunday.
Yeah, and you know, in the past, we've known the identity is we're going to run the football. We're going to look at you. You're going to know that we're running the football, and we're still going to run the football. They've completely gotten away from that. I don't think anyone in the organization right now is above questioning. Why is Alex Van Pelt gone? What is Ken Dorsey doing? Yeah. Everyone should be held accountable. Everyone needs to answer questions, because as we sit here right now, Chris, at 1-3, things are looking bleak. This was supposed to be the easy part of the schedule, and I don't know what the identity is. That's not good. They have to figure that out and figure it out quickly.
The identity is under 20 points once again.
Yeah.
We can't eclipse. Yeah. We just can't get
we're stuck in the teens.
We're stuck in the teens. Nick Chubb returning to practice this week is?
It's encouraging. It's encouraging for the entire organization. You know, he's a guy who we've already rallied around in years past, has obviously brought us in the playoffs, and we've had some success with him. And, you know, having him back on the field and around the organization, I think, is nothing but a positive for the Browns right now when they, quite frankly, really need it.
Agreed.
All right, Browns beat the Commanders this week
if they can somehow get the Commanders to turn the ball over. The Commanders do not. One of the things that they do very, very well is they protect the ball. They don't fumble. They don't throw interceptions. It took them 3 games before they threw their first pick. So this is a team that will not make many mistakes, and the Cleveland Browns have to turn them over. They have to force them into making mistakes, because we've seen it. We're not consistent on offense. We're inconsistent on defense. We're now inconsistent on special teams. So we've got to force the other team to make some ugly mistakes that we can capitalize on.
Yeah, and the Commanders just put up 42 points against the Arizona Cardinals. This is not the same Washington Commanders team as last year, folks. Jaden Daniels appears to be the real deal.
Yeah.
And how many times have we seen a rookie quarterback have a day against the Cleveland Browns and the Browns defense? I fear that's what we have in store for us on Sunday. Browns got to score some points, man. 16 points again. The offense, only 10 of those points. Remember, it was a scoop and score defensively that got them to 16. You've got to score points to keep up with these teams in the NFL. That's what they're going to have to do to beat Washington.
That's a lot of points from them. Going back to the identity real quick, I want our defense to be big again. What are we, 12th best defense
Set the
in the
tone.
NFL
Set the
now?
tone for the Browns.
I want them to be back. Okay, we've got to take another break. We'll be back with more Big Play Cleveland after this. Welcome back to the Big Play Cleveland show. We're continuing our fill-in-the-blank game here, and this one's kind of devastating to even think about. But I am blank losses away from looking up NFL mock drafts. And Nick, don't you even say you've already done
it's
this.
devastating because I did it. The morbid curiosity in my brain got to me on Sunday night, and I was like, I wonder what they have. So I looked it up. The first, I'll give you guys this. I only looked at one. Traditionally, you read one, you find where the Browns are at, and you jump to the next one, find where the Browns are at.
Showing
I only
some
did
restraint.
one. I only
some
did one.
growth as a human being.
But I'll tell you, I only did one because the Cleveland Browns select Quinn Ewers, quarterback, Texas. I was like, okay, I have to be done. I'm not willing to go there yet. Gab, give us the next fill in the blank. We need to talk guards. I'm not going to quarterback.
One question.
Yet.
What pick was it? What
it
pick
was
did
in
they
the
assume?
teens. I don't know where. It was in the teens.
We're used to the teens.
Like our scores. Yep.
All right, let's go Guardians. Blank will be the most important Guardians player in this ALDS.
I'm going to say Emmanuel Class A. I think we're going to pitch him an awful lot, like Jensen was just saying. We saw what happened back in 2016. You got a guy like Andrew Miller, who was really a workhorse. In this case, Emmanuel Class A's got a lot more help, obviously, out of that bullpen. Yeah. But he has got to be. We talked about Nick Chubb and the fact that the Cleveland Browns rally around him. We rally around Emmanuel Class A on this team, and that's got to continue into the playoffs.
Yeah, and in the 90s, there was a closer that everybody thought was going to be really dominant come playoff time, and when the games mattered so much, and it didn't happen. I think Class A...
Why you got to bring it down like that? Why do you got to go Joe Table?
I think Class A is going to right the wrongs of that, and I think he is going to be that dominant. And I'm going to go Jose as well for the exact reason that Gab gave.
And I was going to go offense on that too, just to chime in quickly, only because we've seen in years past, not to be a downer, but we don't need our stars asleep when it matters the most. And I think he's going to be fired up for this.
But thank you guys for tuning in to the Big Play Cleveland show. Download that Big Play app, and we'll see you again next week.